All right, so what's going on, everyone? This is our weekly AMA, Ask Me Anything. So if this is your first time on the AMA, this is the session where you can jump in and just ask any question whatsoever that you might have about how to use Talkadot, questions about using Talkadot, what to do before, what to do during, what to do after. So this entire block of time is literally for you. So this is not me here teaching. So this is me answering questions. So if you'd like me to show you how to do anything, great. If you have any how abouts, yeah buts, what ifs, how are other people doing it, this is all for you so that you're never a week away from getting your questions answered on how to succeed and turn one speaking engagement into multiple speaking engagements using Talkadot. So with that, I will open up the floor to whoever has a question that would like to go first. And if you have a question, feel free to jump in so that we don't have that awkward moment where people go, but I want you to go first, Holly. But then Thomas is like, but I want you to go first, Thomas. And then Denise is like, but I don't want to go first. And then we sit here quietly and awkwardly. And then finally someone goes, fine, I'll go first. And then it's all awkward for everyone. So if you have a question, just jump in or feel free to raise your hand and I'll choose you in the queue. So let's see if we get awkwardness or if we get questions right away.
So I'm here because I want to institute something like this, a Ask Me Anything session as it relates to some of the financial literacy products that I sell to give parents ideas. And so you don't have this problem, Aurel, but what happens when no one shows up? What's your advice when no one shows up? And because I want to do it consistently, right? So consistency is going to, create that trust, allow people to pop in. But what happens when there's low engagement? What's your recommendation? Do you just stay
Yeah,
on
well,
for 15 minutes and then
that's
let it go?
100% right. I use the professor rule. So I'll wait for 15 minutes if no one shows up. So I like you have a to-do list that I probably will never see the end of. So if nobody was on the call, I would just have this screen open and then my work that I need to do anyway open. That's not like highly cognitive work, probably like checking email, responding to email and stuff like that. And I'll work on it for 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes, if no one shows up, I got a free hour. And it's magical because when do you have a free hour to do whatever you want to do? The answer is probably never, or very, very few. So that's what I do. And if a few people show up, you answer the questions for the people who show up, and then that's it. So maybe it's an hour long, maybe it's 20 minutes long. This is really just for our users, and it's also, as I think you alluded to, it's very important for the consistency of it, right? To show that like we actually care. Like I and our entire team actually care about our users. And that's why we have sessions like this, because we don't want to just say we care. We want to like show that we care in the best way we can.
And as a follow-up, like I also feel like led to, okay, well, Holly, even though this is a chance for them to ask you questions, that I feel this pressure to have something prepared in case people don't have questions, but they're just here to sometimes hear other people's questions or to see what other people are asking. Do you feel that pressure to have
Nope.
something prepared, or did you when you
Nope.
first started out? No.
So
Okay.
this is AMA. Ask me anything. It's not
Okay.
like teach. I'll teach. So, and again, you're 100% right. And I would do that too. By the way, I would join. Like if I was a user of something, I'd be like, well, what questions should I be asking that I'm not? Let me see what other people are asking.
Yep.
So I would jump on and do that myself. But no, from my perspective, my goal is just to be here and be. It's kind of like office hours for professors, right? It's like I'm available to here to support, but I don't have to create a lesson um like it's a class, you know what I mean?
Yep. Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Adam, Thomas, Denise, questions.
Yeah, Arel,
What's up,
before I
brother?
dive in, I just want to articulate that these are great. I really appreciate the fact that you do this. And you can tell I'm obviously one of the members that really utilizes this, but I really appreciate the fact that you do this. And I just think it's awesome. As you know, I teach at UCLA, and my students ask me to dedicate classes just for this, where it's like, have one class or do multiple classes where we can just ask you anything. So I think this is awesome. So thank you for
Oh, my pleasure, brother. I appreciate you.
frequency. Like they're just things that are constantly come up. So the fact that you have them so frequently, awesome. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, thank you, Adam.
Um,
Do you have any questions? I'd love to help. You always ask the best questions.
I do have a question. This one is a little bit niche, but so NAFSA, NAFSA. Are you familiar with this organization?
Tell me what it stands for. It's not ringing a bell.
Okay, I will. Give me 1 second. It stands for, let me get the exact name. It's the Association of International Educators. Says
No,
they're-
I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay. Because this was one where they have a lot of different regions and you apply and they make you pay your own way. And I didn't know if, I'll post in the Talkadot group and see if anyone else knows these guys or.
Are you curious to see if it's like worth your effort to go into?
Correct. In other words, they're not paying me. I would have to pay a registration fee. I would have to pay travel. So the question becomes, is it worth making the investment to be there where it would yield a return or not?
Yeah. So, great question. And what you'll discover, which you probably already have, is that there's a bajillion of these organizations, right? And some of them are not built as equally as other. So I'll tell you how I decide, and I may have mentioned this to you, but it's probably good to mention it for everyone else as well, and then like to read. So here's how I decide if a conference is worth like taking the risk. The first thing I look for is what speakers have spoken there in the past. So I'll like whatever the name of the conference is, I'll Google 2022 conference, 2021 conference, 2020 conference, right? And what I'm looking for is, are there speakers speaking there who look like they do this professionally? Either I know them, oh, like, you know, this guy spoke. I know this guy charges X amount, or I know this guy's a legit speaker. So if he's there or she's there, probably that's a good sign, right? So that's like kind of like one of the first things I look for: who's spoken there in the past. If it's all like, you know, professor emerituses or, you know, deans of colleges or something like that, then I'm like, these aren't actual professional speakers. They just got invited to speak. If I don't know any of the speakers, I'll randomly grab one or two names and then I'll put them into Google and look up their website and go like, are they legit? Do they seem like they know what they're doing, or do they seem like they're brand new speakers looking for exposure? That's number one. The second thing that I do is I go to the 990 on GuideStar. Are you familiar with the GuideStar 990?
I remember in one of the previous sessions you went through this, but
Mhm.
but I haven't used it myself.
Yeah. So all right. So let's just do it together so you can see it. Um, if anyone's not familiar with GuideStar, this is just a way for nonprofits to post their income. You're a CPA, Holly. The 990, it's a tax form. It's the nonprofits tax form. Is that what I'd call it?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's a good definition.
So, what was the name of the group?
NAFSA.
NAFSA. Is this it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'll click here and then I'll go to day 990. So their most recent 990 is from 2021. I always say take that with a grain of salt because that is mid-pandemic. So who knows like what's what in mid-pandemic, right? So the first thing I'm looking for is like, well, you know, what's their revenue? Like, or what would you call it? Revenue, yeah. Nonprofits revenue. I'm leaning on you, Holly, because you're a CPA. I know I shouldn't. Like, you're not on the clock here, but like, so like, look, they, you know, $8 million the previous year, $9 million the current year, so they've got like decent amount of revenue. It's pretty good, right? And then I go down to their type in convention. So line 19 here. This shows you how much they've spent on conferences. So they spent like $687,000 on conferences, total expenses. So like that's not a huge amount. So you got to assume They got a $9 million budget, but they've, allocated 687,000 for conferences. So now I get at least a little bit of a sense of like how much money are they spending on conferences of their total budget. And then what I would do is maybe go like, well, how many conferences do they do? Are they doing one conference and they're spending 687,000, or do they do like 20, and that's 687 divided by 20? Then that's not a lot of money at all. So that's the second thing that I typically would do if I'm investigating. So based upon what I saw from there, it's interesting, but it's a little concerning to me personally, because if they're spending 9 million, if they have 9 million in revenue but 687,000 in total event expenses, maybe they're not, clearly they're not paying for you to go there, right? So like clearly they don't pay for speakers, so that's probably how they save a bunch of money. And then the next thing that I do is I find out who actually attends. So if the people who are attending are like, professors, then that's not, it doesn't matter if I go. Professors aren't booking me to speak. If the people are like, VPs of, something, maybe. But if they don't typically fall under, director of student activities, leadership, campus activities, student activities, Greek, so fraternity, sorority affairs. Those are typically the people with budgets. If they're like the ombudsman, which I don't even know what that is, but they seem to be on campuses, like they're not going to book me to speak. So there's that. And then finally, the other thing is the opportunity cost. At this point in the game, I wouldn't pay like my own airfare, pay a registration fee. I would say you would like if you want me, I would love to be there, but you got to work with me. And if they go, well, we don't do that, then like that's okay. Like it's not a good opportunity for me. I tend to find, not always, but typically, the if the conference is not paying speakers, and they're making you pay your own way, not always, but typically, then that just might be the revenue model of that organization. That's how, like, we're gonna have 50 speakers, because we know people want to speak, and we're gonna make them pay their own way and pay all that, because it's basically, we know this is what they want, and this is a way for us to generate revenue. Where typically, if folks are generating revenue from other members, they typically take care of their speakers a little bit more. So there, I tend to personally stay away from groups that make me pay for everything, unless it is a friend of mine said, no, you gotta go because it's amazing, and I got this and this and this and that. Like, it's a gold mine, rail. You 100% have to go, which I can probably, I don't even know if I can think of one that, fell under that, but that's like the only thing that would make me go. So like, I personally am wary, because I think a lot of groups use what they're doing with you as their business model, and not as their not as the opportunity we'd like it to be.
So that all makes perfect sense. I was under the impression, just from previous conversations, that there were specific groups, like, let's say like event planner groups or college groups. I've yet to watch your college training, but I will watch that, where you do have to pay. Like, they're not going to pay you. You have to pay a registration fee. You have to pay your own way, but it's worth doing, because
It's a little nuanced. So here's the nuance. Okay. So are you familiar with ISAB?
No.
International Association for Speakers Bureaus. So I just applied to speak to them. It cost me $500 to apply, and if I get accepted, it's $2,500 for me to speak at their event, right? So I am paying to play, but who is in the audience? Corporate speakers bureaus, right? So if I do a good job, I know that these are the people, and the whole system is structured with ISAB. They're going, you're a speaker that wants to get more exposure. We want to get you in front of the people. So like, it's literally built in that we're helping facilitate that. When you look at like APCA, APCA, the Association for Promotion of Campus Activities, or NACA, NACA, the National Association of Campus Activities, they're also, yes, you're paying them to go, but we are facilitating a space where you should get business from us. So if they're just saying, hey, register and pay, show up and speak, if something happens, great. If you're paying to play, if they're not helping facilitate, then it's not as advantageous for me. Like, I will pay if I know that they're helping facilitate. Now, I could go up there and suck and they don't like me and I don't resonate with them. Like, that's the risk I'm taking. But they're creating the space to say, we want you to win. Everyone in the audience knows what's going down and they want it. They're here for it. We're here for it. So that's why we want you to pay. I'm looking for that. If they're just going, pay your way, we hope it goes well, that's the nuance that's like, yeah, well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very cool. Let me know what you decide to do. Let me know what you decide
Out
to
of
do.
curiosity, do you ever have, over the years, how often have you had success getting these guys to say, oh, you know what, we'll actually pay you, as opposed
Yeah,
to
I have. I
Yeah.
have. Yeah. So like for example, NODA, they have a group in they have regional chapters all over the country. One is in Canada, in Toronto. So they wanted me to speak and I said, okay, well, it's in Canada, it's not in America, so I got to fly out there and and they said, okay, cool. We'll cover your hotel and give you a $900 stipend, right? So the $900 covered, like, this was like before the pandemic, so
Yeah.
$900 actually helps with plane tickets. Now, like, you can fly like across to the next state and it's like $1,200. Um, so that basically paid for they paid for my hotel. That $900 paid for my plane ticket, my food, and I had a little bit of play money, but I wasn't going there. It wasn't like I was getting a fee. It was just to help cover my
You
costs.
were going out of pocket. Yeah.
Exactly. It didn't cost me anything to go. So that happens. Like, I did a conference a couple of months ago, same thing. They said, hey, we'll give you $1,000 and your hotel. So the $1,000 to cover your expenses, and then the hotel is on us. So it didn't cost me anything to go, but I didn't make any money from going either. So
Right.
that does happen, and that typically is if they really want you. If they don't want you, or you're like, hey, we have 50 workshop presenters and you're one of 50, then they wouldn't do that. But if they want you on the keynote stage, typically they will.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Happy. Yeah. Happy to answer. Happy to answer. This is what I love about AMA. I have no idea where this is going to go. It could be about the tool. It could be about your business. But this is why we're here. This is set up to support and be helpful. Mr. Triumph, do you have any questions?
Hey, very nice to see you and very nice to see everybody. Thank you so much for doing this. I have a question. It's off the topic of Talkadot, but let me give you the reason why, and just in the interest of being honest with the group. I started speaking professionally a few years ago, and I was ramping, and then the pandemic, I remember that whole thing. We all went through that. Where I was when I first heard about it, like, really, I'm not kind of aware of this thing, but everything went sideways. And then I got a job from a company that called me back. So I was like, I thought I would ride two horses at once, my day job, and then keep my speaking thing going, but I didn't. I worked like a ton of hours on my day job, and as I expected, because it was my third time with the company, that went away after. So here I am again, kind of starting from scratch. So I don't have enough critical mass where I'm using Talkadot, even once a week, but I love it the times I've used it. And the reason I'm on this call is because I want to be ahead of the curve, and I know I'm going to be using it again frequently once I ramp my speaking. But here's my question. What CRM, and if you don't want to answer this because it's so off topic, that's fine, but what CRM do you use for your speaking business? I'm going between like Zoho and maybe Daylight. I've used Salesforce before. I'm just wondering that. My second question, well, let's leave that for now. That'll be my only question.
I personally use SpeakerFlow. So SpeakerFlow is built on top of Zoho.
Yeah,
so
right.
What I like about SpeakerFlow is that you work with their team. So Taylor and Austin are awesome.
I know those guys. I love those guys.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. So what I like about SpeakerFlow is they build the CRM to work for what your business needs it to. Most CRMs, and I've tried I don't want to say all of them. I've done the Salesforces and the
Me too.
all of them, right?
Me too.
And what typically happens is you're trying to make something like oval fit in a circular hole.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a bunch of data you don't need and a bunch of fields that aren't relevant and a bunch of reports that you'll never use. So
Yeah.
what I like about SpeakerFlow is that they build it so that it's for you. And then everything is built like for actually what helps me make decisions. So I like that.
They know the speaking business very
That's
well.
right. Yeah,
Did you have them, and maybe this is too detailed, I apologize to the group if it is, but did you maybe it's too personal also, but did you opt for the, it's like $5,000 and they'll set the whole thing up for you? Did you do that?
I did. Yeah, I did because
Are you happy?
yeah, very happy. Very happy.
You're happy?
I didn't want to like, what happens with most software, and we hope this doesn't happen with Talkadot, but we know that this happens with most software, is that there's a huge learning curve, right? It's like now I gotta like become a professional student of Zoho and go through all of their videos and like learn how to use it. And it's like, oh Lord. And I know that it's an investment in my business. I just didn't want to do, I've done that before. I can do it. I just didn't want to. And I was like, they've done this a bunch of times. So I did pay I think it was $5,000 for them to set it up. And then once it's set up, it's, not that much per month for Zoho. I forget
And
how much.
you're happy you did that.
I'm very happy I did that. Very
Yeah,
happy.
and you pump a bunch of leads into that in the beginning, and it kind of goes through the CRM pipeline and you manage it through there.
Yeah, exactly. When we have leads come in, what we mostly use our experience with SpeakerFlow and Zoho mostly is for when leads turn into like interest, like, oh, this
Yeah.
might be a client, then we know who to follow up with. We get to move them along our, initial contact, conversation, proposal sent, ongoing conversation, win or lost, who do we need to follow up with, when those events are. We can then, forecast revenue with it as a tool. We also use QuickBooks as well. That does a lot of our revenue forecasting, which is in addition to them. Because obviously that's what QuickBooks does, so they're like easier to get the reporting and stuff. But yes, very happy with it. It just, all of the fat is gone, so all the stuff I don't need is not there, and that's what I like about it, because most
Yeah,
CRM
well, like
stuff is like,
Salesforce could, I've used
Oh,
all these before. It could run the world, you don't need it. My last question, which you can defer this if you don't want to answer, because I don't want to hog the conversation, but where I'm falling down is, and or I should say where I need to get up and get running on is identifying opportunities. So I'm embarrassed to say I've had the Intel Engine stuff originally through the SpeakerFlow for years. This is embarrassing admission in front of all my new friends and those lovely smiling faces here. I've had it for years. This is so embarrassing to say. I've never even like opened it up or used it. I'm paying every month. And I also have the Charlie Jane, where they give you a month of every. Have you used either of those? And what do you think of them? I'm just looking for some insights on how I can start building my pipeline.
yeah, for sure. So yes, I've used the Intel Engine, and for the exact same reason, like that happened to you, happened to me. One second. One second, my wife is giving me a note and I need to read it, and this seems important. It's in the panel downstairs. Oh, the water? Oh, I don't know. Do you need that right now? I don't know. There's a plumber in my home that has a question that I don't have the answer to. And my wife's working with that right now. And that's a great question.
Is it the water main shut off?
Yeah, where's the water main shut off? Where is that?
It's where the water comes right into the house. It's down in the basement generally.
Try a front door closet. Like if you have a coat closet in the front, I'm a realtor. Typically that's where I find them.
I have a house with a basement. It's not in the front. Where would it be? It's in it,
Probably
like
in
near
the
near the water pump? Water heater?
What age is your house?
It was built in, what year was it? 2009?
Yeah, it should be in a closet somewhere, like a front door closet.
Okay, all right, cool.
It could be near the water heater, but maybe not. But it would be down in the
I'm
basement.
asking you now. This is your AMA now, everyone.
Water pipes are underground,
Okay,
in the ground, so they come in at the ground level. And it's just, hey man, I'm gonna show you something. Let me show you something, because I'm right here. I'm gonna show you something. Like she said, in the closet. Look at this. I'm gonna put a light on here. Hold on. That's it right there.
I've never seen this room in my house, so I need to find this room. I'm sure it's in my water heater. I don't like.
It's just the basement, and there's the water filter. But there's the thing right there. If I push this up, it just shuts it off.
Man.
More than you wanted to know.
No, I did. No, There's so much about being an adult I don't know.
But that's how simple it is. You just turn it and it turns the water from the house.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a section in the basement that has like the water heater and like the vents and the flows and the air ducts and the, I don't know. This is outside my skill set. I'll learn something though today. I'll
You
learn
know,
what it is.
this is also ridiculous, and I apologize, but I'm gonna do this as a public service announcement for the group.
Oh,
3 years ago, my wife and I left in the morning. We came back. We had a water leak underneath our sink. We estimate 280 bathtubs full of water.
horrible.
$35,000 of damage to the house. So I wound up then putting this in here. It monitors the flow through your house. If there's a toilet flushing, if there's a shower on, if there's a toilet dripping, it monitors, it sends it to your phone, and you can touch a button and turn it off at your phone. It was bought by the company Moen, M-O-E-N. It's called Flow, F-L-O. It costs $500, and I wish I had it before I had $35,000 in damage.
I will check
And
that
I
out.
apologize to the group for
You have
showing that.
did I see you have, is that a Hydrovive? Is that the water filter you have?
You know, I don't know. I mean,
All
I
right,
don't
that's
think it's
okay.
a,
We're going
it's
so
not-
far left here. Let's bring it back. I apologize for everyone. Thank you for helping me.
no, I did it. I apologize.
No, this is good. So thank you. So to answer your question, I did have the Intel engine and I stopped paying for it, simply because a couple of reasons. Reason number one is I felt like its Google scraping wasn't as good as was promised. I thought it could have been better. And then I wasn't going in and using it the way that I'd like to, so I didn't want to stomach it. If you upgrade to Pro, I don't know if you're a light user or a Pro user, but we do have a relationship with My Speaker Leads, so we will give you 400 leads for free. So they email out a list of 100 conferences that are looking for speakers right now that they've done their best to verify actually pay speakers. So that's something that you can get. In general, what I do and what I recommend all speakers do to get because what you have is what's called a cold start problem. You can't get hired because no one knows who you are, and you can't speak more if they don't know who you are, but they don't know who you are if you get hired, and then it's like, chicken and the egg kind of thing. So my main goal in the beginning of any kind of cold start situation is to speak at the associations that my potential clients are at. So for example, if I wanted to, well, let me not just hypothetical. Do you know who you want to speak to? Like your ideal customer profile? You still figuring
Yeah,
it out?
because I'd already ran before. So their technology, and I've spoken at several. I need to reach back out to the other 40 states.
That's right. So is it tech businesses?
Yeah.
Is that what you?
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
tech,
So
innovation.
I'm looking for any state conference you've spoken out. Right. That's exactly right. So now I want to do is go to an adjacent state. So if I spoke at the West Virginia Tech Conference, I want to reach out to the Philadelphia Tech Conference and say, hey,
Yeah.
I spoke at the West Virginia one. It
Yeah.
was really awesome. Ideally, in the future, use Talkadot so you can say, and here's the data from what they said. I'd love to bring this to you. Or I'm looking for a call for presenters for those other states. So, user conferences are great options. So, if there's a big software company that's having a user conference, they might have a call for presenters speaking there to get in front of all the decision makers of these tech companies. It's great. But yeah, your main thing is to do any and everything you can to speak at the associations that your clients are members of. So if I get a workshop and there's 40 people in the room, I'm a happy camper because those are 40 people who now potentially know who I am, potentially will like me and hire me. But that's how you get the ball rolling. You don't always have to be on the keynote or the main stage speaking to 500 people. A workshop of 25 of my ideal customers is a playground for me. So if I were you, the cold start problem is just go back to all the I wouldn't focus on paid speaking engagements because typically you won't get paid to do those workshops. But if you know that your ISCP is there, your ICP, excuse me, ideal customer profile is in the room, submitting every single call for presenters for every single state is the only thing I would do in terms of, and once you create the call for presenters once, you're just copy and pasting at that point. So if you want, you can give it to a VA or an assistant, or you do it yourself. But I wouldn't spend any time trying to book paid speaking engagements if I have a cold start problem. I'm spending all my time to try to get to speak at the association, either as a workshop or a keynote, typically through a call for presenters, so that my ideal customers can see me. And then when they see me, that's when great things happen.
Did you use or would you use Intel Engine to find call for presenters?
You can. I wasn't in love with it. I personally wasn't.
How do you do it now?
You know, so one, I get my speaker leads, so I get a weekly email from I'll show you real quick what it looks like.
Is that what you get with Pro?
Yep. I mean,
Also, it's not a one-time thing, it's a continuous thing.
yeah, so what you get is, let me pull it up here, so you can see an example of
I got to
it.
get Pro.
Yeah, I'd recommend it. It's awesome. So this is an example of a list that you would get once a week. So in it, you can sort by, let's just sort it here, A to Z.
And I can't see your screen.
Oh, you can't see my screen?
There we go. There, we
Oh.
couldn't, it just popped on at the end.
Oh, wait. Okay, let me know. Thumbs up if you can see it, thumbs down if you can't. Thumbs up, okay. So Rebecca has
Yeah,
a thumb up.
Holly's right. Alicia's can see it. Maybe I'm just slow here.
Can you
Here we
see it?
go.
Okay, you can see it now. Okay. So in column A, it says call for speakers. And then if you scroll down, these are all direct reach outs. So these are people who you would have to like reach out directly. But the benefit of it is it has the name, their email, their phone number, their title, their company name. So for example, like the Georgia Department of Economic, right? In yours, I think you would want to look here because it's the industry. So you're looking for like computer software. This might be a good look for you. Cybersecurity. This might be a good look for you. Cybersecurity. So you can look through the industries, technology leadership, to see which ones are most relevant to you. But then it also has the call for speaker URL also in the list. So you can just click on it. And this one might already be passed, but just as an example, yeah. So it'll go directly to the Georgia Association Convention and Visitor Bureaus. This is actually a really good one to speak at. And then you just do the speaker submission form. You just click on it and then, follow it. So the way that you gotta log in with this one, right? But the way that it works with us is this is powered by our organization called My Speaker Leads. So they provide it for you. So we give you one a week for a month for free. And then if you want to continue to get these sent to you every week, it's $20 a month through My Speaker Leads. So, and again, I would never want to like say cancel Intel Engine. Like if it's working for you, use it. But what I did is I canceled Intel Engine and moved that money over here because I don't have to do any kind of like they do it for me and send it to me. And then my job is just to find the ones that I'm interested in. So that's how I find the associations. Like, so I'm looking for like, ooh, I'd love to speak to, Afro Tech, Blavity. Oh my gosh, I've been trying to get in with Blavity forever, as an example. I don't know if that was true. Now I know how to get in with them. This is great. The other thing that I do is do manual work. So for example, I like the ASAE network personally. ASAE is the American Society of Association Executives. So what I like about them is they're an association of association executives. It's very meta, right? So literally the whole association, every member runs their own association. And what does every association need? Keynote speakers for their annual conference. So they've got FSAE, which is Florida Society of Association Executives, TSAE, Texas Society of Association Executives, right? Now, this might not be helpful for you because you're focused on the tech industry, but the reason why I like them is because they've got a chapter in every single state. Every single one of their states does an annual conference. And when I speak in a room, I got no idea who's in the room. Like, so for example, I booked an event. I'm speaking at it 2 weeks from now. It's the Michigan Municipality Association. I didn't know what a municipality was. I would never know that I should target them and speak at their events, but they saw me speak at the Michigan Society of Association Executives. They go, oh my gosh, this guy would be great for our conference. And they contact us and they had the budget and like our message matched what their needs were. So I find that's also a fun way to kind of discover interesting groups that maybe you wouldn't. But again, if you're focused on tech, the My Speaker Leads probably will help you be a little bit more finding of those conferences without having to look for them yourself.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Great. Other questions? These are all good questions. Thank you, Thomas.
Hey, Narelle, I have a follow-up question to what Thomas was asking if no one else has questions. I don't want to hog the.
Also, if everyone could do me a favor, if you indeed do have a question, if you can, where is it? Do the raise your hand feature, just so I know you have a question, so I can go through the queue. And if not, I can just like keep answering one question, like as with really minutia that might be helpful, but may not be great for time reasons. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll make sure to get to everyone. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, so to follow up on the advice you gave to Thomas, I haven't really had success penetrating the associations of associations. And I wanted to know if you had any kind of granular strategy on how to do that.
If you get denied, I'd ask, like in terms of like, sometimes people say no, and I go, it's just not my time. Like I've applied to, 40 conferences. I've been accepted to 3. So, it's just the nature of the beast.
For these, are you typically like the ones that you're getting with like FSAE and like, are you typically getting them by applying directly to their conferences, by doing email outreach? How have you been just for this one particular vertical?
Yeah, applying. Yeah, that's 100%
applying
right.
to their state conferences.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to have a little bit of fun with it, like I can't say this works. It's just what I do I like to stack the odds in my favor. So, so I'll give you a perfect example. Let's just do this in real time. Can you see my
I can. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just. Well, hold on. Let me, because I spoke at this conference. So actually, oh look, they put me on the whole. Ha! You see me right there? There I am. Look at that. Jeez Louise, I didn't even know I was on there. Let me go ahead and screenshot that. Golly, shout out to them.
Wow.
So I'm on the homepage of their website. They liked my keynote. Shout out to them. But sorry, I'm just like catching my cool back. All right. So all right, cool. So this is what I'll do. They'll have a call for presenters. So I want to look for like their conferences, right? So like here, there, and so this happened in past. Oh, here it goes. 2024. So here's their annual conference. So I'm just looking for, do they have a call for presenters? So their event is like June 6th or whatever. So they don't have their call for presenters open. But if they did, I would submit their call for presenters. Then I go to their about section and look for their leadership. So in this particular case, it's like their board of directors. And then I might hit up all these people on LinkedIn. Again, I might not do all of them because it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. But and again, I don't do this with like the level of consistency to say that this is like a game changer. But I might go, oh, you know what? Oh, I'm actually working with her. She's awesome. She actually booked me. Right? But these people here are on the board of this particular organization, right? So if I really wanted to get in, like in your case, the California Society, because that's like my home state, and I'd love to get more speaking engagements locally, I might LinkedIn request all of them. And maybe they accept it, maybe they don't, right? But if they do, then now I start showing up in their feed, right? Like hopefully, this is all like hypothetical.
Yeah.
So I just all call for presenters. That's all I've done. And then I'll request some of them on LinkedIn because I'm hoping that I start showing up, become a familiar face. If they accept my request, then I'll hit them with a message of, yo, thanks so much for accepting my request. I just applied to speak at your conference. If all works out, maybe I'll meet you in person. Something like that. I don't do the message ahead of time because I don't want them to like potentially not accept me. But if they do accept me, it's like, randomly like, oh, maybe I look like a decent enough guy for them to be friends with. Then I'll say, here's why I reached out. And again, I can't say with full certainty that that's worth if the squeeze is worth the juice. But I also play the long game where I go, like, even if they say no, maybe in 5 years they'll book me because of the work I did today. So I try to make like 5-year older version of me, a little easier.
And sorry, last follow-up question, because I see there's another hand up. So have you found that for all of the states, or 40, 45 of the states, whatever, they have listed on their website their annual conference and an application for their conference. So that's just the way to go. And then add these guys on LinkedIn.
So-
Great. Thank you.
Now, yeah, 100%. They all do. Now, going back here, there's me, yay. So if you go to their learn, right, and you go to their conference, so it doesn't this is the other thing. So what I would do personally is and I did this once, and I think I may have sent it to you. Let me pause my screen here and then see if I can find this list. So what I did at once, it's not there. Hold on. Let me find this. Hold on. 1 second. Where are you? Where are you? And here we go. Okay, so this is it's old now at this point, but it might be helpful. If I haven't sent you that list, I at one point went through every single state website and pulled out their URLs for their call for presenters and put them into a spreadsheet. These might be broken because they're older,
Yeah.
but they might just refresh and go to the right page. So I just spent like an hour, put them all into a spreadsheet. So
Yeah.
like if I wanted to redo this for 2024, which I probably will, I would just throw them all into a spreadsheet, whether they have the 2024 or not, and then revisit it like in a month and see if their call for presenter is up. And then if it is, apply.
I'm gonna have my VA. What I'll do is I'll give my
Have your
VA.
VA do it is perfect. It's
Can you've given me this list before, but I'll give him this list and give him the project of taking this and updating it. That's just great. I appreciate it.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my wife is coming to me with more plumber related questions. Yes. It's a great question. It's either in where the washing machine is, under the sink, or in the basement, or I don't know. Okay. This is just real life, y'all. This is just real life. Mr. Tower, what's up, brother?
Hey, listen,
Go.
I'm gonna start with praise before I hit you with my crazy. Love the platform, love all the value that you offer, the time that you're putting in for, a pretty reasonable monthly fee. So thank you for all of it. So I used it in Alabama last week. It's the second time I used it. I was driving to the airport. I believe it was either that day or the next day that I received an email from Mike, basically kind of detailing everything that went on at the talk, ways to utilize the information, ways that you guys could help me use the information. And then I got paranoid. So I don't know where my caffeine level was, where my bipolar meds were. But listen, my man, you are a phenomenal speaker. And I just wonder, giving you all of my speaker contacts and is like giving my girl Ryan Gosling's phone number. I'm a confident guy, but I'm also not an idiot. I just wonder, you did give us a spreadsheet of a lot of contacts that we could reach out to, and what guarantees do we have around the information that we provide for you, that those contacts won't be sold, that you, Arel, won't utilize them personally? You know that I trust you, but assure me.
Yeah, it's a great question, right? And believe it or not, when we first started Talkadot, that was the biggest fear that all like client 1, client 2, client 3, user 4, user 5, user 6. That was the biggest fear. They're like, Arel, aren't you gonna use this against speaking engagements? Couldn't you use this and sell it to someone else? And the answer is that would completely ruin the entire integrity of what we're trying to do with Talkadot. So if you go into our terms and services, we specifically say we will not sell, rent, or give your information to anyone. If we ever did that, we would lose all our customers. Like everyone would hate us. When I say here's a list, these are lists that I've manually created. They're not I literally as a rel have never and will never go into one of your accounts and look at your lead list, right? I don't ever want you to think, oh, where's Michael Tower speaking? I'm gonna go like pull his list and speak there. Number one, I don't do that because it's for sure unethical and I shouldn't do it. And number two, it would degrade the integrity of what we're trying to do. And number three, you know, from my perspective and from our company's perspective, we want to over deliver and provide a great service for you. So we do this to be helpful, not to in any way jeopardize that. So if you ever feel like, hey, it makes me uncomfortable, don't do that, Mike Mays. He won't do it for you. He does it as a way to be helpful. So it's a very common fear. You can look at our terms of services. You know, I give you my word on a recording here. We will never sell your personal information to someone else so that they can get your leads or something like that. It will never happen. In the same way that I'm sure a medical doctor like could sell people's medical information, but like HIPAA says, like you can't. We don't have a HIPAA, but we think of it as in the same way. So I just want to give you confidence that those are yours. There's no one else's. They will never be rented, bought, sold, or traded in any shape, form, or fashion.
So I just the briefest bit of context, and like I said, I know that you're a man of integrity. You wouldn't get to where you're at. You wouldn't run Profound if you weren't a man of integrity. You know, working in substance abuse treatment, and this might break some people's hearts. You know, whenever you saw those 1-800 numbers to get help for addiction, and you get that person in the lab coat, and you would call. Well, those would be on recorded lines, and people would hear those phone calls. They would monitor those lines, and then somebody would hear somebody coming to Southern California for drug and alcohol treatment, and they would want them to go to their rehab. And then there was something called rehab poaching, where vans would actually show up to the airport and kidnap clients and take them to other treatment centers so they could get paid. So I come from a place where even treatment can't be ethical. So my level of trust with the people that are supposed to care for us is an all-time low. So I know that's the lens through which I see the world sometimes. It isn't about you, it's about me. So thank you, Arel.
No, I appreciate you sharing. I mean, that's one, I didn't know that existed. And two, that's
horrible.
Horrific. Like, I mean, absolutely horrific. And, you know, I can assure you that we will always operate from a place of integrity. We'll always operate from a place of like, we spill everything out. I try my best to not hide anything. Like most questions people ask, I answer. So as best as I can assure you as a man to man, like I would never build a company that would do that. And I know that if that happened to me, I would be as concerned as you are, and it'd be a fair question to ask.
So good. Thank you.
Of course, of course. Hey, Rebecca.
Hey, thank you so much again. I definitely want to tell you thank you for this opportunity. I'm just starting out with Talkadot. I think I'm at my 10-day trial. My trial ends in 10 days. So I am, you know, trying to just make sure this is something that I want to lean into. I have done a few free engagements for my company. But I want to take it to the next level. And I do see the value in Talkadot, but I wanted to ask you, you know, as someone who is looking for those paid speaking opportunities. And I heard you tell Mr. Thomas earlier, you know, definitely taking advantage of some of the free workshops and things like that. And I've done that within my company. Now I'm looking to branch off from here. How can I leverage outside of my company at this point in time?
Yeah, so I'm catching the feedback, sorry, that is a cat making sounds here. So much is going so weird on this call on my personal level here. This cat's he's gonna do something he shouldn't. So you work for a real estate agency, is that right?
Yes, I'm a realtor.
A realtor. Are you speaking to realtors or
Yes.
Totally different?
Yes, I coach, train. I'm part of the leadership council here. So yes, I do workshops within our company.
Okay, great. So if I'm hearing what you're asking, you want to do workshops or presentations for realtors, but not under the umbrella of the company, but under Rebecca. Is that right?
Yes, and not just realtors, but my main focus is business and leadership.
Okay.
So those are the areas that I really want to focus in on.
Got it. So using your background to do business and leadership presentation. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So literally it would literally be the exact same thing that I said to them. Like it wouldn't be any different advice. Like your job is to get to the associations where businesses and leaders are attending. So one, are you a pro member? No, you said you're on the trial.
I'm
So
gonna
if
try. Mhm.
yeah, if you do upgrade to pro, we'll send you like we'll give you 400 to get started, and you can find ones that are business leadership based,
Mhm.
or business based or leadership based that you think might resonate that you can get started with. And then the other thing that I would recommend doing is, and this is like a very simple thing that I think people just it seems so simple people don't do it, is people who are already in your network who fit your ideal customer profile. So whether they're friends or whether they're past clients or whomever, and you just ask them, what associations are you a member of?
Mhm.
It's amazing all the different types of associations that exist, right? And I'm always amazed that my clients will always tell me about one I've never heard of before. So like if I spoke to a group of business owners, I say, hey, thanks, I see that you're at this association. Are you a member of any other association? And they're like, yeah, I'm a member of this and this and that and this and this and that. And then I go, oh, write it down. And then sometimes they go, oh, I know the people. Maybe I could put you in touch with them and see, if you're a good fit. So I always start with low hanging fruit. I never try to go to strangers first. So I start with my network. Who are my friends? Who are my colleagues? I ask, what are you a part of? What conferences do you go to? So that's number one. Number two, uh, this is ethical stalking, I guess. Ethical. There's probably a couple of speakers that you feel like are similar to you in some way. Like maybe they have a similar message or a similar audience. And then I just go, well, where did they speak? So I just Google their name and the word keynote, or their name and speaking engagement, their name and conference, right? There was something called the Intel Engine, which like made that easier, but I found I could do it on Google just the same without paying for it. And then I get a sense of like, well, where are these people speaking? There's like a rock star who I think is like, I think arguably he's like the highest paid keynote speaker in the world. His name is Simon T. Bailey, right? So I got to meet him at the $1 Million Speaker Group in NSA. We had a wonderful conversation, but I'm like, okay, this is the highest paid speaker in the world. Where's he speaking? What are the events Simon's speaking at, right? And then like I kind of get a sense of where they're at now. Like obviously I would never want to compete with Simon because he's a really great guy and was very generous with his time with me. But it's also probably possible that if he spoke at a conference 3 years ago, he may not speak at it again. Or if he spoke at it this year, they may, like, sometimes conferences don't bring the same speaker back year after year. So if he spoke at it this year, I'm not competing with him if I go after it for next year, or I might say, hey, Simon, like, I'm thinking about speaking at this conference. Would that be competing with you or would that be okay? And if he's like, oh yeah, I don't care, like reach out, I might do that as a respect. So I look for people who are like rock stars and then I go, well, where are they? And that's how I kind of, again, address the cold start problem. Cool. You're welcome. All right, we're gonna plow through. I've got a call in 5 minutes, and I'm gonna get through Sharon's call, Sharon's question, and Denise's question. Let's go.
Hey, Errol, is it Errol?
Arel.
Errol, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I just kind of wanted to say hi and also to the community as well, because I guess if we're coming into this AMA, it means that we're all sort of speakers and I wrote in the chat, I'm right in the similar spot as you as well, Rebecca. I think going into the speaking world, it's very like figure it out as you go. And I figured it out through hopping on these calls or just networking in general with other people who are speakers. I actually knew Talkadot from, I think you have Arel, a co-founder who's like an Asian girl, probably.
Yeah, Pokin.
Pokin. Okay, so I met her brother who told me about
Oh my
Talkadot.
gosh.
I started using it
Oh my gosh.
for one of my things, and it's great.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's because I got good feedback, so it's good for me. But I now screen cap it to show other bookers or potential bookers as proof that, hey, like people like my content. And I had a question regarding that, which is how, like, do you see other creative ways that people use their screenshots, or like how are your users using that stuff?
Yeah, great question. So the way that I recommend using it is one, posting on social media, right? That's like basic 101. So take your image. Um, let me pull up. Doop, 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 doop. This was a keynote that I gave last week, right? So you go to share this report. So I download this data, post it on social media, download this, boom, I can post that on social media. So that's number one. Number two, like you said, I send it to potential clients as well. So if I spoke, like this was the United Way New York State Conference. So I'll probably like reach out to the Pennsylvania State Conference people and say, here's what a couple of people had to say in my email, and I'll insert the images into the email itself. And send it to people. Now, if you want to get like super fancy schmancy with it, I actually just did a training on this. Are
Oh,
you
yeah,
using?
and you said, with part of the trial or the pro, there's 400 some
Yeah.
opportunities that you guys actually give. Okay, where do I find that? Do I just go into the dashboard and then find it?
Oh, so are you a pro user or a light user?
I
Light
think
is
I
free,
just
pro is
signed
paid.
up, so maybe a trial user. I don't
You're
know.
a trial user, yeah. So you signed up and you're in a 30-day trial, right? So if you do like upgrade to pro, you'll get an email with the username and login so that you can start getting the 100 speaking engagements per.
Oh, I see. Are those call for papers?
Yeah, they're call for presenters and direct outreaches. So they look like, I think I just pulled it up. Let's see if I could talk about. You may not have been here when I showed it to the other person. Let me pull it up real quick. One second. Open up. Can
I
you see my
didn't, I also didn't know that you were a speaker as well.
I am a speaker as well. Yeah, I am a speaker as well. So can you see my screen with the spreadsheet looking thing here?
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. So you get a call for speakers, and then you get their name, contact information, the industry that they're in, and then the direct URL to apply. And then you also get what's called direct outreach, where they don't have a call for presenters, but these are people like Heidi McNeely is the vice president of education for the International Health Facilities Diversion Association. Here's her, here's their contact information. Reach out to them. So you'll get 100 of these roughly, sometimes more, per week for 4 weeks. And then if you wanted to continue to get those, it's $20 a month through my speaker leads to continue to get them.
Okay.
But the 400 hopefully will get you like more than enough. 400 is more than enough for you to get going.
Are these paid ones? Like where is this list coming from?
So this list is coming from a group called My Speaker Leads. They look through all the opportunities that are available now and present them. Their job is to find the ones that ideally are paid. Sometimes they're not. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. So some of them may pay, some of them may not, but their job is to figure out which ones are paid and surface those up. And I will mention to Pokin that her sibling is spreading good love.
Yeah.
So I have a meeting at 1 o'clock, so I have to unceremoniously end this. And Denise, I didn't get to your question. So Denise, if you want to shoot me an email or a loom at Talkadot.com, I'll be happy to respond to you directly as well. And Sharon, thank you so much for using our tool and continue to use it and get more comfortable with it. I was gonna say I use AI, so like I'll post some of my data in AI and come up with press releases, case studies, executive summaries, and stuff like that, just to add a little bit of variety to how I use it. But that's a whole. I could probably do a whole session on what I'm doing with AI and my reports as well, which I probably will, because that's not like a short thing. But I gotta jump because I'm getting anxiety that I'm a minute late. So thank you all. I'll see you all later. Have a good day.